What's good, y'all? I'm back. I know I'm late. Doesn't matter. Let's get to it. So, I finally watched the RWBY X Justice League crossover, and I mean, it's alright. It's nothing amazing, but it's not like it's particularly bad either. They do this thing where it kind of starts when the story is already in motion, so you're basically lost without protagonists as they try to solve the mystery. But it just left me with a feeling of things not being complete, and obviously it's a part one, so that's the case. But it left me feeling like a lot of things happened, but at the same time, nothing happened. Like it came off as more of a fragmented narrative to the point where it more or less just felt incomplete. Maybe that'll be fixed with part two, but I'm gonna have to see it first before I let something like that slide. But it's the definition of a popcorn flick with some good action and what I guess you can call a small twist at the end that leaves things open for that second part to explore. TLDR, it's like a 5.8, not enough Ralph, IGN approved. Just from how this is made, you can tell it's definitely made as a crossover for RWBY fans and not as a way to introduce DC fans who don't know the franchise. I don't really see people who are unfamiliar with the show being interested in it because of this movie. Half of it probably comes from the weird decision to age them down to teens. I mean, it's definitely one of the choices of all time, especially when you already have teenage superhero teams you can use, like maybe the Teen Titans or even the group from Young Justice, They're just sitting right there. And I kind of get it though. You already have the comics that feature the Justice League, and you want to keep that consistency, but it still makes for some of the stranger interactions. Like some of the weird vanilla stuff where it seemed like Cyborg was flirting with Nora and Raina would get all jealous, and that would just keep up for the entire movie. Or the fact that the two teams seem to just frequently butt heads over literally nothing and just start arguing. Then you have Batman, who I know riled up some people before the movie even came out, mainly because he's not all dark and brooding like the more modern interpretations make him out to be. But when you have versions like the Brave and the Bold or Adam West Batman, it doesn't really bother me having another interpretation of him exist. Plus, in the movie, he acted much more like Bruce than he did Batman, so I'll have to give them until part 2 before fully judging this character as a Batman persona in a way, The problem for me with him was that his main struggle of being less than his teammates by not having powers. But, to me, and I'm sure others, Batman being able to go toe-to-toe with these metahumans with just his skill and mind is probably the most interesting thing about him. So having that be his internal conflict came off a bit weird to me, especially when I feel like that line of thinking, again, could have worked if it was with one of the more many variations of Robin you have in non-Batman. And I'll give you some credit for at least trying to explain it by saying like, oh, they're teens, so their hormones and insecurities are at the front and center, and that's why they're able to not focus and get out of this predicament they're in. But it was easily the weakest part and most annoying in the entire movie for me. Now, I don't want to make it sound like there were no good parts to the movie, because there definitely were. First of all, being my girl Vixen. I welcome this woman in every and all interpretation she's in. Hey, if you want a version of Harriet who's not a militaristic joke, here you go. She checks all the boxes. Flawless tomboy. I love it. But on a more serious matter, I think it's easy to say the best part of this movie goes to Jean and Jessica Cruz. I don't keep up with the newer DC comics or anything, but it did a great job introducing her character and showing where her strengths and weaknesses lie. And oh my god, that scene with her reciting the Green Lantern oath? Best part of the movie. Just the voice acting and animation were masterfully done, so props to them for that. Then on the other side, it was cool seeing Jean have the more mentor role in the duo when it came to Jessica not being able to access her semblance or with her feelings of not being good enough. Because he's been through that in the show himself. He's basically taken those lessons that Pierre gave him and is paying them forward. And speaking of Pierre, can we talk about how we got tortured seeing her in her Maya version twice in a month span? It's always sad seeing Jean either think about her or interact with her in some way when you start thinking about what could have been. And what's even more sad is that after seeing how great Jean and Jessica were, it's kind of made it more apparent how everyone else is just kind of mid. Like, they really don't stack up to what they did with those two. So it's like, on one hand, it's a great thing, but on the other hand, it makes all the other shortcomings that more apparent to witness. But it's like I said earlier, the movie is still okay. It's dumb fun, but if you take it too seriously, you'll definitely have a bad time. It's more about just the interesting dynamics you can get with characters that normally would never interact. And you know what? Despite a lot of things I said earlier, I'm at least still interested in part 2, especially because it seems like Watts and potentially others who died in Alice have a chance of showing up again, and I'm interested to see our teams possibly go into the DC universe as well. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Let me know what you thought about the crossover, and I'll see you next time. Peace.